Welcome to the WatchGuard Threat Detection and Response Console Overview. In this video, I'll show you the basic features of the TDR Web Management User Interface. Since your first assigned account is granted both administrator and operator roles, we'll see both functions in this demonstration. We'll view the service provider interface, the customer interface, and the standard menu elements of both. There's a lot of ground to cover in this segment, but we'll go into greater detail on each item in other videos. As we go through the console, remember that some of the menu items might be different based upon your account type, role, and the options you have enabled. To begin, log on to your WatchGuard account at watchguard.com and select My WatchGuard Manage TDR. This will open the Threat Detection and Response web console. This first step is where service provider accounts differ from standard customer accounts. If you're a WatchGuard partner, on the left-hand navigation menu, you will see Accounts, Licenses, Users, and System Tools. The top navigation bar will show a drop-down list of child accounts and the name of the currently logged-in user, a logout button, and a context-sensitive help link. The console begins in the Users view, showing a list of all users for your account and their assigned roles. Clicking the Add User button allows you to create a new user and assign its password and role types, either service provider administrator or service provider operator, or both. As in the rest of the TDR console, all columns are filterable, resizable, and can be sorted. Expanding a user account shows the Edit User view. Here you can change a user's name, email address, password, or role, as well as disabling unused accounts by selecting User Status Suspended. You can also permanently delete a user account by selecting the action icon, Remove User. Accounts provides a listing of all your child customer accounts, their name, unique identifier code, allocated TDR host sensor license count, and installed host count. Here you can add new child accounts or edit the names of existing accounts. You can also globally enable or disable the ability to turn on beta features for testing. Clicking the action icon on an account lets you edit the account name, permanently remove an account, or temporarily disable an account. The Licenses screen shows all available TDR host licenses and the account they are allocated to. The action icon allows you to assign or unassign licenses between accounts as needed. The System menu in Service Provider view provides an audit log of TDR console user activity. Here you can review logins and detailed information about what change actions users are performing on your account. From the Service Provider view, selecting a child account from the top drop-down menu takes you to the selected customer account. Service provider accounts and standalone customer accounts look similar here, though service provider accounts will have the account selection drop-down at the top and no licensing menu on the left, while customer accounts have the license menu but no account selection drop-down. For a customer account, the console always begins at the dashboard. The dashboard is a quick view of the health and status of your threat detection and response deployment. On the left is the standard collapsible menu. We'll go through these items in a moment. The main dashboard status pane is occupied by the current open indicators, remediation actions, installed host status counts, and free versus allocated host sensor license counts. Clicking any one of these elements takes you to the corresponding page in the console. Below the status pane is the open versus resolved indicator timeline. This clickable bubble map shows a quick view of open items that require attention and resolved threats that TDR has already remediated. The last item on the dashboard is the top indicators by host. This provides a list of activity per protected system and can be useful in tracking down repeat offenders in your network. Moving to the left-hand navigation bar, the first item is the current CyberCon level. This can be adjusted by clicking the up or down arrows and affects what policies are active. Incidents shows a roll-up list of combined open indicators on a single host. These individual indicators stack together to create an incident score for a host and show aggregated activity for the system. Note that by default, only high or critical threat levels and the last 24 hours of data are shown in the view. Adjusting the view filters shows more data. Indicators are the individual items on hosts or reported network activity that have been scored by TDR. These scores are the basis for actions taken by defined policies and feed into the aggregated incident score for a host. This is a very important screen and provides a ton of useful data. Here you can review automated actions that host sensors or the firebox have taken, see more details about why that action was taken, or if no automated actions were defined by policies, manually execute behaviors on individual items. You can also view charts of threat activity, show or hide additional data columns, search for more threat information, which we'll talk about in another video, or export the data to text for further analysis. As in other screens, these columns can be moved, resized, sorted, and have their default view filters changed. Remediations takes us to multiple charts and lists of threats that have been resolved by TDR. This is like viewing the indicators screen with previous scores selected and shows information about actions taken against a threat and the outcomes. This can also be exported to text. The reports screen is where you can create on-demand or scheduled threat activity reports for download or email. You can save up to 10 on-demand reports for download at a time, but there's no limit to the number of scheduled reports you can create. We'll cover reporting in another video. Devices shows 3 items: optional AD helper hosts and installation instructions, the fireboxes reporting into your TDR account, you can also remove old fireboxes you've retired, and all hosts either manually installed or synchronized with Active Directory. Please note that the hosts view has a default filter to show only devices with installed or installing host sensors, but this can be edited to show all your hosts. The configuration screens are where you will perform much of the setup for TDR. Domains shows AD helper synchronized Active Directory domains and allows you to select which to synchronize or unsynchronize or remove unused domains. You must first remove the host in a target domain from TDR to delete it from TDR's console. Containment is where you can view and add exceptions to the host containment feature, servers for example, when you want to ensure that these hosts will not be isolated from the network in the event of an unresolved incident. Exclusion lists are used to define files or folder paths that TDR will ignore. This can be useful if your antivirus solution is conflicting with TDR or if you want to avoid interaction with other software like a database. Groups are a very useful feature. By default, all devices are placed into the All Hosts group, and this is the group that default policies target. But here you can define custom groups for your hosts for policy targets and override host sensor settings from the global defaults. This can be handy if you want special settings or policies for servers, low-end workstations, or high-value targets like HR systems. Host Sensor provides a download link and instructions to manually install the sensor to systems and an override to automatically delete quarantine files after a certain number of days. Notification rules allow you to set up various email alerts for TDR activity, such as new critical incidents or remediated threats. Policy contains the default and custom policies you've created. Remember, you must enable policies and set the CyberCon level to the appropriate setting to allow TDR to take automated actions. Otherwise, your incidents will report no policy and nothing will happen. The exception to this is host ransomware prevention, which can be enabled or disabled separately from policies and CyberCon. Signature overrides is a list of custom MD5 hashes that you can add for whitelisting or blacklisting of individual files. These files are then automatically scored as 0 for whitelist or 8 for blacklist, regardless of any other scoring that TDR performs, machine learning or behavior analysis. For standalone customer accounts, the next menu item is Users. This differs only slightly from the service provider user view in that users are invited via the WatchGuard portal rather than created directly. Moving to the next section, Settings, we have General, Host Sensor, and Reset. General settings turn on or off extra features, and under the standalone customer view, enable beta features for testing. Host sensor settings control the behavior of TDR detection components and can be overridden by group definitions. Details about these settings are covered in a separate video. Reset is a GDPR-compliant tool to allow partial or full reset of your TDR account, clearing the data and settings back to defaults for the selected items. The last menu item is System. This contains sub-menu items for the Audit Log, an exportable log vault TDR console activity for this account, similar to the service provider audit log we already saw, and Network Events, an XML formatted raw view of all events sent from your fireboxes to the TDR cloud. This concludes the WatchGuard Threat Detection and Response Web Console Overview. In this video, we reviewed the basic features and main components of the TDR console, including the difference between service provider interfaces and customer interfaces and standard menu items. For more details about these features and other information, please visit the technical documentation pages at watchguard.com.